had a question on
Uh,
submitting to competitions your images.
yeah.
Do you submit them in RGB or sRGB mode when you send them off?
Gosh, I don't really know.
No?
Honestly, they just want like a, I don't know. Um,
Okay, that's all right.
if uh if they say what color, what sometimes in the prospectus they'll say like how to
Yeah,
format your image file and it's
because
I think it's usually
sRGB, you probably know sRGB is the format that's best viewed on screens, whereas RGB is best printed.
uh unless
Yeah.
you're sending it to like one of those professional like a magazine or something, then they want CMYK.
Yes, exactly.
Um,
Well, they tell
I,
you, yeah, in the perspective. And then if they want to publish it on the cover of the magazine, then they'll tell you, but it's usually then RGB.
Okay.
yeah, I think actually my default setting on Photoshop is RGB or sRGB,
Right.
one of those. Um,
CMYK is the ink color, not for the photograph. That's for printers, CMYK
yeah,
that are talking print ink.
yeah.
So it's RGB.
Oh.
But I don't think they want anything more than RGB unless then they'll let you know if they're going to do something fancy with it.
But I was thinking more when the judge looks at the pictures and is trying to make, who are the ones that are gonna win the awards. I found that my pictures didn't look as good as they should have been, but because maybe my digital file wasn't in the right mode or I didn't do it right.
It could be you could experiment and uh, when you're saving your image file,
Yeah,
save one copy as an RGB and save another copy as an sRGB and see if
okay,
you notice any difference.
okay.
But save the same, like go off the same master file,
Mhm.
save one of those as the ones, and then save one of those as the other, and keep the master file. It could also be your image file itself. Like, do you photograph it or do you scan it? Or how do you go about getting your image file?
Yeah, I photograph it and try to match it to what it actually looks like.
Are you
Yeah.
are you
But
photographing it with a tripod?
not necessarily, but I have,
You need to do it with a tripod.
yeah, but
Yeah, you need to. The lighting has to be right. You can do it next to a window, sideways to a window, perpendicular
Okay.
to a window. Yeah.
Like, I'll have, like, sometimes if it's sunny out, if I have a small painting like this and it's sunny outside, I will take this out in direct sunlight and photograph it.
yes, that's
Where
what
I have the sunlight coming at just a slight angle, not a real steep angle and not straight on, but just a slight angle. That way it catches those little textures. But that also will really pump up the intensity of colors on
Yeah,
paintings.
it
Sometimes
depends
more than it's just. So sometimes then I'll have to lower the saturation a little
Yes,
bit,
I've noticed that.
and I'll have to lower the contrast a little bit. I usually have the best luck with two methods. One of two methods. Either I will photograph it in here, and I can show you. I can show you my. I have a warm LED light over here on this light stand. I paint with these, and then I have my cool light over here on this stand, on this side, my easel. So I'll put both of those. I'll put them both up like real close right here, aiming at the painting at a little bit of an angle. So I'll have the warm light and the cool light. And believe me, this took me a long time to mostly get this to where it looks pretty good. And
Yeah.
I'll use my tripod and my Sony camera, my little Sony camera that I bought one time when I went to the pastel convention in Albuquerque, and I forgot my other camera. I forgot my Panasonic. So I had to stop at a Best Buy and buy this. I'm like, I'll just buy one and then I'll take good care of it. And if I need to, I'll just return it on a trip back. But I ended up liking it and keeping it. So this is like my dedicated studio camera. But it has a lot of settings. It has like white balance settings and it has like all kinds of exposure modes and stuff like that. So I've got it to where if I put my warm light and my cool light on my painting and
Okay.
I put this here and I focus very carefully, and I snap it, fill the screen, square it up real nicely. It takes a pretty good image that's fairly close to the actual colors. But it took a long time. Now the better way, I'll usually do that for like just posting online, just any old painting. If I'm gonna compete with something, put it in a competition for judging or whatever, I'll usually take it into the house, scan it on my scanner. I have just a ordinary flatbed scanner. It's an Epson also. It's been like, knock on wood, it's been the best scanner I've had ever, and I've gone through a lot of different scanners. This one's the lasted the longest.
Pastel, how does the pastel touch the?
You put it on the glass. You put it face down on the glass, but it's glass. It's super smooth. It's not. It doesn't move the pastel. It doesn't do anything with pastel.
Okay. Oh, wonderful.
It's just glass.
So yeah.
You just stick the painting down.
Yeah.
And close the lid. If it's a small enough painting to fit inside the scanner, I just put it down and close the lid, and scan it. And the scanner came with this software, which later on I upgraded the software and bought the upgrade of the software. It's called Silverfast. Okay. It's really good scanning software. And the scanner I have is discontinued now, and I don't even know, hopefully it'll last me a long time more, because I don't know what I would replace it with, but it's an Epson V700. And it's just a little, it's just this size. And when I have a larger painting, I'll put it on the floor, and I'll lay the painting down in sections and weigh it down with a book. I'll put books on it if it's way over at the edge. It's kind of complicated if it's really big, but I'll do that, and I'll scan it in sections, and then I'll put it in Photoshop. And Photoshop has this thing that just like 2 clicks, and it just splices it all together, stitches it all together. It's great. But that's scanning, I think, is the best way to go. It gets, it's if you've got the right scanner, you got good software to go along with it. Yeah. Because what I'll do when I want to make a print, and I want to make sure the print's going to look good, or if I want to just make sure the color is right, because sometimes I don't know anything about calibration. Nothing about I don't calibrate my monitor or anything. So I'll scan the thing. I'll do like the auto whatever on the scanner. I'll just let it decide what's going to be best. I always put, if it's a large painting, I'll always put it down at an area that contains the lightest and the darkest values, like the area of greatest contrast in the painting. That's what I start with, because that's what the scanner will read, and that's how it gets its light and dark points to manage the rest of the values in the image. So I'll do that first, and then when it's a large painting, I'll print just that section on my Epson printer, which I have a 17-inch wide Epson printer. It's a 3880, which is also discontinued. I actually have it's the second one that I've had. I found one on eBay just by good fortune when mine died. But I'll print it on the Epson professional paper, Epson whatever that is. It's a nice paper, but it's not as expensive as the higher quality art papers. I'll print it on that, and then I'll compare. And I'll say, oh, I need, it's too low contrast. I need to do the level. I need to bring the shadows down a little bit, or whatever, and I'll make some tweaks, and I'll do that until I have it as close as I can get it, which I've gotten a lot less picky over the years, because you'll never get it exactly like the original. It's just not going to happen. But I'll get it as close as I can. Okay. And then I'll scan the rest of it on that setting. And then I'll put it together in Photoshop. And most of the time, just the auto scan, where it detects what it needs to detect, most of the time that does it just fine, especially for an image that's going to be viewed online. Okay. But for photographing, though, you really do want to get some balanced temperature lights, and play around with the settings on your camera. If you're using a cell phone, sometimes those cameras, depending on what cell phone it is, sometimes the cameras are better than others. Just depends. But I would recommend getting a dedicated getting a nice 35 millimeter something or other.
Yeah, I do have.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and play around with your camera settings. And the best way to, unless you've calibrated your monitor, unless you know that your monitor gives a really accurate color that you're looking at it with, the best way to do it is to print it and see, what does this look like when it's printed?
Okay. So Here's another question. So you as a judge, when you're reviewing all the submissions, do you view it on your device, or is it device?
Yeah.
Device?
I mean, really, with the digital, that's why a digital image, you probably don't need to get the color so exact. Because if someone else is going to be judging it digitally, their monitor is going to be a little bit different.
Exactly.
You know, and everybody's monitor that views it, you know, on social media or whatever, it's going to be a little bit different. And what you probably want to be the most careful about is clarity, resolution, the clarity, the crispness, you know, have it in focus with optimal clarity of the image. You know, if you can see, if you can really see the crispness of those pastel strokes, that's very important. And then generally the correct contrast and as close as a color match as you can get. You know, when judges are looking at that stuff, you know, the professional artists, they know value is more important than color anyway. So they're not going to be looking at a painting and thinking, you know, the red on her cheeks just does not look right.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, if the value is right, the color doesn't matter. So, you know, if there's no judge that's going to be noticing that your color is off, how would they know what your color is to begin with? You know, what they want to see is a strong image as a whole, the composition, all of those design elements, everything that goes in, you know, to that piece, thinking of it as an abstract. So it's about, you know, composition and design, and yes, use of color, color harmony, handling of the medium. You know, that's where the clarity of the image really comes in. So they can see, like, what kind of strokes did you use? You know, does it look overworked or does it look fresh? You know, that kind of thing.
That's very helpful, Rita. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love getting questions like that because I can clip out that little piece and publish it as an extra.
You can always take it to a lab and pay them to do it, a print lab.
Yeah, I don't know. I had one of my first paintings done. I had it photographed in a lab to be printed, and it came out okay. But of course, that was back when I was more picky than I am now about color. Plus, I don't think it was as crisp as it could have been if it had been scanned.
A lot of mine scanned now. Digital. Their cameras are so much better. I mean, they put it on.
Oh, cameras are a lot better now. Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
And they have thousands of the ink they picks up thousands of colors. You know.
Yeah.
So you can do that too if you get lazy.
Well, it all starts with that image file, that's for sure.
Right.
All right, let's see. Gosh, it's on overtime.